Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Star Wars Wednesday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with Star Wars, the Black Series from The Mandalorian, Luke Skywalker, Imperial Light Cruiser. Let's get into it! Let's begin our Dark Trooper combat with a look at the packaging. And here we have on the top some tape, a hook, nothing else. On the front, Star Wars, the Black Series, and a nice digital render of Luke. A little bit of stars in the background there, it looks like. Star Wars, the Mandalorian, Luke Skywalker, Imperial Light Cruiser. Assortment number. Warning! Don't stick things in your pie hole that do not belong there. 4 and up. Plastic-free packaging, except tape and glue. Hasbro print. On the bottom, small print, fine print, legalese print, made in China print, symbols I'm not going to learn, and a barcode. On this side, Star Wars, the Black Series. Another nice digital render showing the size of the figure. And then, from the front, the stripe continues around on this side at an upward angle and then around to the back. Plastic free packaging except tape and glue. On this side, some nice artwork of Luke as he appeared in The Mandalorian, Luke Skywalker, Imperial Light Cruiser. And on the back, Star Wars, the Black Series, Luke Skywalker, Imperial Light Cruiser, and then another digital render of Luke. When the Mandalorian embarks on a mission to save Grogu from Moff Gideon, he receives unexpected help in the form of Luke Skywalker. And there it is again in some other languages. He's number 30 in The Mandalorian. Attention! Don't stick things in your French pie hole that do not belong there. Includes figure and accessory. Warning! Attention! Octung! Don't stick things in any language pie hole that do not belong there. Don't give it to babies. Small, fine, legalese, made in China, Disney, and Hasbro print. That, my friends, is a look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories. And first of all, let's take a look at his lightsaber blade. And this is actually new. It's just a standard post. No little ring around it to help it snap in and hold itself in position. So that's new. I don't know how to yet feel about that. Nice translucency to the plastic. And it's a bit, I don't know. It may be a bit on the pale side of green. And now let's get out the handy dandy tweezers. We'll take a look at his lightsaber handle, which again I think is a new piece. If not, it's been painted slightly different than others, and it does seem to have a good bit of paint apps on it, and it's got a little D-ring right here, or at least that's what the prop had on it, was a D-ring to hang on its belt. And overall, I have to say, this is I like the sculpt of this. It's very nice looking, and the paint apps really just put this piece over the top. Now we'll take a look at the figure and his final accessory, the cloak. such as it is. If the whole point of this particular cloak is to cover Luke's face, it accomplishes that stunningly. You can't really do much more than that with it. This piece, I don't know. It could possibly have been sewn a little better. The final cloak is different than what we saw in all the renders. In all the renders, it was not connected at all. It just hung loosely on both sides of his shoulders. And the hood just will not set right at all. And I don't know if it's just I'm dumb with it or what. It just, I don't even see how doing the wet, dipping it in water and molding it and letting it dry, I don't even see how that would help this, because the way, again, that it's just made. And I am not a fan of this at all. This is the worst piece of the set. And I don't even know if I'm going to display him with that. I may try to find a third party cloak with a wire in it. Now let's take a look at the figure itself. And I have to say, it's an okay likeness. It's still, we're still not there with the Luke Skywalker likeness. Does this look like the digital Luke Skywalker from the season finale of episode 2 of The Mandalorian? Yeah, I think it actually does, because that wasn't quite there either. Now we'll have to see how much better they do on Book of Boba Fett, the 2-pack, which I'm on the fence on that one. I'm not sure I'm gonna get it. But other than that, I'd have to say this figure looks pretty darn good. I'm not sure about the accuracy to the show, because I didn't go right back and watch it to see how accurate this was to it, or if it's more Return of the Jedi. So, but overall, I'd have to say the body of it looks pretty good. Let's take a look at the articulation. He can look up that high, and I think there's a dumbbell in there, and probably in the neck too. I think it's a separate piece as well. He can look down that far. He can chicken neck at the Ewok party. He's got some waggle going on there. He can do the full exorcist at the shoulder. The arm raises up slightly below 90 degrees. Does get a full 360 degree rotation at the shoulder. Nothing in the bicep. Hinge and swivel at the elbow. Swivels around 360 degrees. And gives you that much bend at the elbow, which is pretty darn good. Excuse me. At the wrist, 360 degree rotation on up and down hinge. And on the other side, up and down hinge as well. Now, at the waist, he actually has a waist cut. There is no cut in the torso. It's all one solid piece. But he does have a cut at the waist, and it's on a dumbbell, which allows him to have all kinds of hula motion going on here. He can lean left and right. He can lean back that far. He can lean forward just slightly, it looks like. And he also has a 360 degree rotation. And I'm assuming that's on a dumbbell or a ball hinge in there. As you can see, this overlay is part of the upper torso, and then from the belt down is an overlay of the lower half. Now, at the hips, wish he had a pull-down hinge. That would have been really awesome. He can give you that much of the splits. He can kick forward only that far. And back, maybe about 2 steps. There is a cut at the upper thigh that does give you a 360-degree rotation. Also, hinge and swivel at the knee. Swivels around 360 degrees, and that gives you that much bend. Also, a cut at the very top of the shin for another 360-degree swivel boot cut. At the ankles, down that far, up that far, and forward facing pin for rocker. Now, one thing I did not mention before, here is the hook for his lightsaber, which is accurate to media. I don't know if it's accurate to the Mandalorian, because again, I didn't go back and watch that before I did this review. But as you can see, it will sit on there. It's actually stays pretty good. So that's pretty cool. And then as far as, I didn't show the blade. As far as the blade goes, there's a port and a post on the end of the lightsaber. And again, it does not snap into place. It does not have that little ring like we're used to, but it stays on there. So there we go, my friends. There is a look at Mandalorian, or Luke Skywalker, Imperial Light Cruiser from the Mandalorian. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have Mandalorian Luke Skywalker with Jabba's Palace Luke Skywalker and Endor Luke Skywalker. All 3 Black Series, of course. Here's Mandalorian Luke Skywalker with the very first Black Series release of Jedi Luke Skywalker, and Dagobah Luke Skywalker with Yoda, and this is the 2-pack. For our final set of comparisons, here we have Mandalorian Luke Skywalker with, from the Marvel Legends series, Stan the Man Lee making his cameo appearance. From the G.I. Joe Classified series, we have the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander. Our final Black Series comparison, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper. And for a 7-inch scale comparison from Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, we have the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final thoughts on the Star Wars The Black Series, The Mandalorian, Luke Skywalker, Imperial Light Cruiser, or was it Remnant Light Cruiser? I don't remember. I have to say, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. The cloak is horrible. It's not the same cloak that they even showed in the digital renders. And it just doesn't work. Well, I don't know. Maybe this is just my opinion. But it doesn't work like it's supposed to. With some slight modifications at the factory, they could probably make this a really decent cloak. But as far as what comes in the packaging, it's not great. It's not even good. It's barely passable. And the only thing that it's good for is to cover up the almost passable likeness of the face. Now, I will say this. I think the likeness on this figure skews more toward the not quite accurate depiction from the Mandalorian, the CGI face. It just, something about it looked off. And maybe that's just me. Your mileage, of course, may vary, but it's passable. You know it's Luke Skywalker, mostly because of the dress and the hair. I say dress. The way he's dressed. And his hair. And again, like I said, it looks more like the CGI Luke. And maybe that's the aesthetic that they were trying to go for with this figure. And again, it's passable as Mark Hamill, but just barely. And I know Mark Hamill gets a lot of crap about his face not being good for action figures, or something along those lines, because they never seem to get him quite right. Now, I'm sure some of the higher end stuff gets, the likeness pretty dead on. I'm sure there's a Hot Toys out there that looks just like Mark Hamill. But for me, this one just really, it's not quite there. I still think the closest that Hasbro has gotten to a likeness in the Black Series to Mark Hamill is the indoor Luke Skywalker. And it's not perfect either. So we'll see how the retro carded Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker looks when it comes out. And hopefully they finally got it right. But I'm not holding my breath. Now, the good things about this figure, I like his articulation. He has a waist. They got rid of, for him, they got rid of the chest cut, or the abdominal cut, whatever you want to call it, and gave him a ball joint or a dumbbell in the waist, and I think that works better. Both wrists are up and down hinged wrists. I think that's good. The paint, what little bit of it there is on the figure, looks good, which is basically the face and the belt and place where his lightsaber stashes, and that other little silver paint app on his belt. And I know that this may not be 100% accurate to the media, but again, I didn't go back and watch it to see what was and wasn't accurate about the figure as compared to the show. And overall, I'd have to say I like this figure. Everything except that cloak, it's got to go, and it probably is going to go right into a box and never get looked at again. I'm currently looking for a wired soft goods cape, or cloak, not cape, cloak for this Luke Skywalker. So if you know of one that isn't overly expensive, especially with shipping, hit me up in the comments. And that does it for the review, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. except for that cloak. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view that I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews, or just help the channel out further, or both, that's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.